Thurmond, West Virginia, Part 2 by Shiny Visions. Today, Thurmond is abandoned, and some even call it a ghost town, claiming that murmuring voices of past Thurmond residents, and especially people that met untimely deaths, still waft through its desolate structures. So why is the former boomtown of Thurmond abandoned today? In the late 1930s, mines moved to more productive areas and people followed the work. Automobiles provided independence from having to adhere to train schedules and stops, and therefore fewer used the passenger trains. Fires destroyed much of the town, including the Hotel Thurmond. And the final nail in the coffin was that railroad switched to diesel engines in the late 1940s. Diesel engines didn't require the frequent refueling of coal and water. The C&O Railroad Company eventually removed Thurmond altogether as one of their required stops. The town fell into decay, but in 1995, the National Park Service took over the abandoned town and shored up deteriorating buildings and cleared debris and bramble. Today, thousands of tourists visit Thurmond each year to learn about its rich history. What does Thurmond, West Virginia look like today? One warm September afternoon, we drove over the New River to explore the town. Before 1921, Thurmond was only accessible by train. After that, a single lane was added. The bridge overlooked a rushing river with the Appalachian Mountains as its backdrop. As with other national park properties, there were the familiar signs depicting what we were seeing. And we had the entire town to ourselves that day. The train depot was renovated and is still in use today, not only as a train station but also as offices and a National Park Visitor Center. Inside, historic furnishings and photos depict Thurmond's storied past. Amazingly enough, 3 Amtrak passenger trains along with freight trains pass through each week. It's a regular stop on the Amtrak route. So these tracks are still active, and there are signs to remind you to watch for trains. And there it is, the town of Thurmond, that looks so similar to its old photos. We are going to walk through Thurmond's business district, just like thousands did over a century ago on a gravel path next to the train tracks. It's hard to imagine what a boomtown Thurmond used to be. The pillars of the bank and the mosaic entry remain, along with the covered windows of storefronts of a bygone time. Rainwater from the steep hillsides that the buildings were built into must have poured onto the path, making a muddy mess for the finely dressed visitors as they conducted their business and shopping. The tall coaling tower near the end of the town draws your attention to it as you walk the short distance through the business district. The pulley wheels and the chute openings still remain. The Thurmond Post Office was established in 1888 and only closed in 1995. Though mostly abandoned, Thurmond actually does have residents, 4 to be exact, making it the smallest town in West Virginia. Every inhabitant holds an elected office, and at each election cycle they vote for one another as they take turns in different roles. This tiny building is Town Hall, where these 4 officials/residents hold their elections and meetings. Also note to the right is an empty field. That is where the Hotel Thurmond was until it burned down in 1963. And, as if on cue, the whistle of a train pierced the quiet afternoon. Soon a freight train roared through. As we stopped to watch it pass, I imagined standing in this thriving, busy town at the turn of the 1900s. I imagined that this was yet another train to drop off more passengers and goods. I marveled at how close the train came to the buildings and how their windows must have rattled as each train thundered by. Watching this certainly helped relive history. The train passed the coaling tower as I imagined it stopping there for service and refueling, just like in the past. These pedestals are all that remain of the water towers that contained up to 210,000 gallons to refuel the steam locomotives. The huge towers were removed by the C&O Railroad in 1998. Here is another view of the residential area of Thurmond. Note the nicer homes built high up into the hillsides. The lovelier the home, the higher it was built, likely to get away from the noisy trains. But note the stone building with the balcony, and across the road from it is a small home, and there is a road in between that takes you to the nicer homes built into the hillside. That's where we're going next. Here's the stone and brick house with a balcony. And yes, to further help with the historic ambiance, another train came by. And as you're looking at the old building, you see nameplates of the old residents. There is a small frame house and the steep road between them, just like in the photo. The rich homes likely belong to the owners of the coal mines as well as bankers and business people. These likely once housed guests that arrived on the trains and hosted live parties. I would have loved to have peeked inside, but the thick, overgrown vegetation and the possibility of snakes lurking underneath deterred me. Captain Thurmond built 30 of these small houses and rented them to railroad employees. That concludes our tour of Thurmond, West Virginia. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe. This is Shiny Visions.